That's a good idea.
And then I'll push this little square up here.
Yep.
Ah, there's everybody.
Yep. There's everybody.
All right.
Few more seconds, we'll be there. There
Yep,
we go.
there you go. You're all set.
We're all set. Okay, thank you. I need to click on continue, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, right. That just popped up. I don't know what that was.
It's, well, you're recorded now. Full disclosure.
Okay.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock and we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Happy post-Thanksgiving. The
Do me a favor and do a roll call to show who everybody is in attendance.
a very good idea. So Mike Steers here,
Bob Green's here.
Bob Green,
Mary.
Bob.
Spell.
Sal Marinosi.
Mark Katie. Richard Ross.
and Bob Murphy.
Bob Murphy. Yeah. I don't know if they heard it. I said it before. I don't know
Oh, I
if they
see.
heard it.
All right,
7 of 9.
very good. Thank you. So the first item, as always, will be to review the minutes from our October 6th meeting. Does anybody have any comments or additions, deletions?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as written.
I'll second it.
Second it.
Anyone opposed to that effort? All in favor? Thank you. Next item of new business, I'll let, we won't discuss really the new business, but we want to comment on it. Mark, would you review your,
Yeah, in reviewing it, I noticed that there were trusts involved and I wasn't exactly sure how trusts work. So I contacted the solicitor who said that he would like to review them before we vote on them, but that he can't mandate the board to do that. So it's up to the board as to whether we send it to him or not.
Talked to her this morning. She said she didn't feel good.
So,
so we had a,
depending on
in
what.
addition, yeah, in addition to the request that, an investigation that Mark did, we then had a request from Bill Smith today that he had not gotten all the final signatures and asked us to postpone this subject until the January meeting.
Okay.
So if the board is in favor, I would make a motion, but I guess we'd have to decide whether we wanted to or not first.
Well, I think if Bill Smith asked for that, we should do it.
I agree.
Well, I concur with that, but I'm more concerned with Solicitor Humphrey's request.
But how long does he need? Do you know?
He didn't say.
Okay. Hello, Michael. Michael,
I would just,
Ray Holland. I speak
yeah,
from.
Ray, go ahead.
Yeah. Is this the Butt Rock Road?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I represent the two people buying this property. Mrs. Perillo is elderly and lives down in North Carolina. Normally what you have when you have a trust is you get what is known as a memorandum of trust, which sets forth what the powers of the trustees are. In other words, if you had a deed from a trustee, there'd be a memorandum that said that the trustees are authorized pursuant to a certain part of the trust, and you would attach that copy of the part of the trust. I will take care of that. I'll contact Dick Humphrey and make sure that he's satisfied with what we get. The trust is not something that gets recorded, and it's not really anybody's business. The title companies and anybody that dealing with trust always accept the memorandum of trust. So I don't think Mr. Humphrey does much in the way of trust. So I'll have a chat with him and we'll square that away for the next meeting.
Okay, I make a motion that we put this on the table until such time as the the applicant is ready and we have some sufficient information as to how the trust operate.
I'll second that.
Okay,
We gotta harmonize, Sal. One,
Yeah.
2, 3, harmonize.
Why, you're out of tune.
oh, all right, so, all those in favor, I'll vote aye.
Aye.
I think we need to do a roll call on it, Mike.
Yeah, how about if I just read the names and then you can give your answer? Because I can see everybody on the screen. So Mark Katie,
Aye,
Sal Marinosi,
Aye.
Mike Steers,
Aye.
Bob Murphy,
Aye.
Mary Satel,
Aye.
Bob Green.
Aye.
Richard Ross,
Aye.
and Helen Woodhouse.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let
So,
me that pen. Helen's here.
having dealt with our new business, we're now into our special subjects section. And we have a few of those this evening. So the first one has to do with a petition by the Bay Coast Bank for special use permit and installation of solar. So Ray, I think this is yours.
Yes, Michael, thank you. My wife and I own the bank, and the bank has a long-term lease. They'll be there for hopefully a number of years. They want to put solar paneling on the roof, on the east side of the roof so that it's facing the pizza parlor. The system is a roof-mounted accessory solar system, which is allowed as a matter of right. You don't need any kind of approvals for it, except that in this case, it was within 1,000 feet of Pikes Peak. And under the zoning ordinance, if you are, you can have it, but you have to get a special use permit from the zoning board of review. So that's why we're here, is to explore with you what we've got to do and tell you what it's like. I have Bob Pace from Bay Coast Bank, who's an engineer, and he puts these packages together. All of Bay Coast banks are going to solar panels. And in this case, the place has already been rewired. They did all of this when they took over from Santander. The panels are such that the solar system is only for the bank. It's not to be sold to anybody else. It's just to be used for the running of the bank. The panels are such that they will be located approximately 14 inches south of the edge of the bank. In other words, if you're sitting in the school parking lot, and if you look at let's see, Michael, do they give you the copies of the exhibits?
Yes.
Okay, so if you look at exhibit 2 that we have, if you're standing at the end of the parking lot, almost out in the road, it would be on where the tree is, above the tree on the left-hand side, so that if you're driving along Meeting House Lane, coming from West Main Road or coming down from the town hall, from West Main Road, you wouldn't see it at all. And from coming to town hall, you couldn't see it unless you were absolutely looking for it. It's doubtful if you could even do that, because it's going to be 14 inches back from the edge, and it doesn't go up near the top of the ridge. So it'll be there. It faces the pizza parlor, and it's the measurements. It's very thin composite here. There's a frame that these go in, and that's about 1 1/4 inches thick. They go inside that, and the panels themselves are just about 1.5 inches thick. So there's not an awful lot of height. It's something like 2 3/4, less than 3 inches above the roof, above the shingles. And maybe 2-3 months ago, Myron Simmons reshingled that whole roof just to make sure that there'd be no problems with it in putting these on. The panels, there are no noise. There's no noise associated with it. There's no glare. There's no reflection, and you can't even see it coming down from the town hall, or you can't see it from Pikes Peak at all. You have to get, I mean, I don't know where you're going to be able to see it. I mean, with the tree there, the tree just keeps getting bigger, and it's not going to come within 14 inches of the end. So it's not something that is going to be unsightly because you won't even see it. The only way you would see it is if you go inside the parking lot where, let's say, Exhibit 3 was. It's going to be on the roof that the picture is showing the east side of the bank. So you can see it from there, but nobody goes back there except the tenants.
Are these, Ray, Sal Marinosi?
Yeah.
Are these going to have a black frame or an aluminum frame, aluminum colored frame?
Well, Bob Pacer, he said they're a black frame.
A black frame, okay. What type of panels are they?
Oh, they come out of Canada. I don't recall the.
On a crystallite, are they, do you see aluminum strands going through them, or are they
They
totally one color?
they have strands that go through them, but the faceplate is black. So you really don't see anything from the exterior.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think from a comp plan standpoint, this is exactly what the comp plan called for, that anything in the commons area would be reviewed, and we certainly supported the instance or installation of solar for the use of the owner of the property. So from my perspective, this is exactly what we laid out to have happen.
Kind of a win-win. You can't see it, and it's going to be upgrading the building.
Correct.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Sal, if they do this, they're going to spend more money on the building. I know they're going to pay rent for a longer period of time, so it's good.
That's wonderful.
Does there have to be anything from the fire department that has to?
Now, I checked with the building inspector. This is an odd situation in that the town already approved this 2 years ago, or I think it was back then, with the other building inspector, and the permit was going to get issued. I was sick in the hospital. There were some problems, the changes with the bank, and the permit ran out. Then the ordinance comes into place, and the old permit's no good, so we have to get the special use permit. But the building inspector is the only one, Bob, who has to okay this, and I've spent time with him going over that.
All
I
right.
did
Thanks, Greg.
review it with the fire chief, Bob.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Go ahead. Make your motion, Mark.
I make a motion that we send a letter to the zoning board finding that this is a minimal impact on the comprehensive plan, but it applies to the goals of LU1 dot capital A, which is land use regulations. I find that it also applies to the goal of LU1 dot capital B, which is no impact on the historic or rural character of the community. And also LU1 capital C, which it has no effect on the residents in the area.
I'll second that motion.
Can we add something, Mark, just that it also supports the town's general objective of, how should I say this? Environmentally,
Solar by special use?
yeah. I mean, because we want people to use solar and we're just measuring the impact.
We also find that it meets with the goal of use of solar by a special use permit in the area of Pikes Peak.
Excellent.
I'll second that motion.
So now we'll have a roll call.
Mark Katie, aye.
Sal Marinosi,
Aye.
Mike Steers,
Aye.
Bob Murphy,
Aye.
Ray Satel,
Aye.
Bob Green,
Aye.
Richard Ross,
Aye.
Helen Woodhouse.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next Next item we have for consideration is a petition from Seconded Energy LLC for the installation or addition of the ability to sell propane. And I'm not sure who was
Me again,
representing.
Michael.
Pardon?
It's me again.
Oh, how nice.
We ought to move the meeting up
Gee,
to my
Mike, did you
office. We'd
bring
have more
lunch?
room.
Yeah, but then we have to
Well, at
wear a
least-
mask.
At least we're not holding you up, Ray.
I'm sorry?
We're not holding you up.
No, I'm gonna put a bed in this place. Jesus.
I don't know, Ray.
I'm get too old for this. Seconded Energy LLC is Robert Goulart, okay? And you know Robert, he's been here for 100 years, and his partner also is Scott Sherman, okay? They run a fuel spot out at the end of Long Highway. Let's see, the address, I think, what is it? 43 Long Highway. What happens is that they fill propane tanks out there as part of Robert's oil business and Scott's oil business, and Robert has there's a number of little businesses out there. That area used to be zoned industrial. It got changed to commercial. Okay, the business that's there, Robert went and got and Scott went and got the permissions that they needed or that they thought they needed from the state fire marshal's office to fill propane fuel tanks there. There was no problem there, except that they come to find out where they had it was at one point too close to the northerly line of the lot. So when they had gone to see the building inspector, he said, no, you've got to move it over. So move it over, meaning to the south, and it's got to be 25 feet away from the north line. They moved that. There's a pad there. There are bollards, and I think they're shown on the plans that we've presented, prepared by Mount Hope Engineering, showing that the area of where this is going to go. And what we did is it's the area of the fuel tanks is approximately 28 feet away from the boundary line. I met with the fire chief, and he has no problem with it as far as he's concerned. The storage of the fuel and the conducting of this business is not a problem, and he reiterated that again today. The use of storage of fuel in that area is governed by the table of principal uses. It's C21, and in a business district, you can have it that use, but it's by a special use permit. So that we've got to go. That's why we're going to the zoning board of review to go and make sure that it's okay. The test for that is to make sure that it's not detrimental to the neighborhood. It doesn't cause a nuisance or a hazard in the neighborhood. The building inspector has no problem with it. The fire chief doesn't have any problem with it. And that's why we're here. We have to going through the planning board. So that's what we're doing.
I consulted with the fire chief on it. He said that he's reviewed it. It meets all the state fire marshal regulations. It will be enclosed in a chain link fence for safety reasons. And he finds no reason that it would not be acceptable.
So Ray, is this to fill 2-gallon cooker type tanks?
Yeah, let Robert, I'll let Robert or Scott answer it. Go ahead, Robert.
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, people can bring their empty cooker tank in, you'll fill it up just like you, instead of going to Humphreys, we'll go to you.
That would sound great.
Okay.
We'll give you a sticker that says Seconded Energy on it.
Man of many words, that Bob.
Will you fill up rusty tanks? That's why.
He doesn't have a comment for that one, Mike.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Convenient here.
Yes.
So it's one of these sites like you see at some of the some of the hardware stores, etc., that they have off in the parking lot with the tank and the fenced in area with the pump, etc. Is
Correct.
that what we're looking at?
What we're planning on doing, would like to do anyways, is be able to fill up small tanks, but also from time to time, you'll have people that will come, with, I have my oil trucks that are there and I'll have a propane truck. Scott has a propane truck at his place as well. And so if somebody came in and they wanted to fill up, let's say a camper, there's enough room for them to back down. The hose would be long enough to turn around, fill the camper up, and they can drive off. But for right now, we're just thinking about just doing the tanks, as far as that goes. So,
Okay. Do you fill up rusty campers?
do I fill up Rusty? We'll see what the date code is.
How about campers with rusty individuals in them?
As long as I see that stamp that says approved, I'll fill whatever you want to fill. This is not being recorded, correct?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yes, it is.
Oh, God.
I don't know. I think our board has a lot of gas to start with.
I'm not gonna touch
I guess
that.
the fire marshals looked at it, the building official, and the fire chief. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it. And other than that, I don't have a problem with it.
Does it meet our comp plan?
It does.
It
Well,
does.
then I
It's in
make a motion that since it meets our comp plan, that we go ahead with it.
Can you add to that it meets the goals of ED1 capital A, which is support job opportunities in the community, and ED1 capital C, which is to support a local service industry?
I most certainly can.
And I'll
second
second that,
it.
Mr. Murphy.
Hey, Mark, when we go to the zoning board, can we bring you along with us?
Yeah, right.
If the board gives me permission, I would be glad to go with you to the zoning board. But the board would have to take a vote to authorize me to speak on their behalf.
Okay.
All right, so do we want to do a roll call?
Yes, please.
Okay. Mark Katie,
Aye.
Sal Marinosi,
Aye.
Bob Murphy,
Aye.
Mike Steers,
Aye.
Mary Satel,
Aye.
Bob Green,
Aye.
Richard Ross,
Aye.
Helen Woodhouse.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with it.
Okay,
Thank you.
So moving right along, we have a petition from Charlotte Duhamel with regard to the mill property. I'm not sure who is going to represent her. Oh, I see her now.
I'm back again.
So I'd first just like to say thank you. We sort of, the town owes you a commendation for taking on the mill and historically restoring it and keeping it the treasure that it is. And I guess,
It's a pleasure.
so
I second that.
having said that, we why don't you tell us what you'd like us to review, and we can continue with that.
Michael, we've given a number of, I think, quite a few plans to you, but primarily the one that puts it all in a nutshell. There are two plans. One is the site plan prepared by Bill Smith's office showing what's on the site. There are two houses on the property. There's the main house, which I'll call the windmill house because it looks, that's the way I sort of describe it. And then there's a little smaller house that runs along the northerly boundary line, which is called the dinghy. This house, they've had these names for 70 years. You've been around that long, Mike. You remember them.
Yeah.
The dinghy is the one that we're talking about. The bottom line is that the dinghy has dire need of help. And so that the people who bought it, as you can tell, as you go by it every day, they're tearing it down and putting it back up. The northerly wall of the dinghy runs in an east-west direction. It's almost in some spots, and for the most part, it's almost right on top of the property wall, the wall that separates Greg and Charlotte's house lot from Bill Middendorf. The dinghy has living quarters and an area that was like a garage barn to it. Part of the garage barn, and this goes back, I found a map in the town hall back in the 50s, where part of this building goes over onto Bill Middendorf's property. Mr. Middendorf is well aware of what's going on. I met with him, and he has no objection to the requested relief here that Greg and Charlotte are looking for. As part of the overall plan, the overhang that is on the building now that goes over onto Bill Middendorf's property, I don't know why it was there. The contractor, David Pimentel, didn't know. It probably goes back 70 years. Anyway, that's been cut off. It's not there anymore. And the property will not infringe on Bill Middendorf's property at all anymore, for which he's thankful and thanks Charlotte and Greg. The dinghy, I believe, had 5 bedrooms at one point. Okay. And it was used, the property was owned by a number of families. And as a result, there were a number of people there all the time, not always got along very well. And Charlotte and Greg bought it at a commissioner's sale from the Superior Court. So in an effort to make it much more livable and bring it up to date, they've decreased the number of bedrooms in there from 4 to 3. And if you look at the site plan also, you'll see that there's on the property, it hadn't been given much TLC in the last number of years. There were 3 cesspools. They've caved those in, and they put a whole new septic system in there that would be for the 3 bedrooms in the dinghy and 5, I'm sorry, how many?
5 bedrooms.
5 bedroom instead of what they had, which was 6. So we've decreased the number of bedrooms, gotten rid of the septic tank, the cesspools, and put in a brand new septic system. As part of what they would like to do is they would like to put on the west end of the building, they would like to put a small addition. Let's see if you can see, let's see. There's a site plan that was also prepared by Mr. Pimentel, who was the contractor. I don't know if you have that. It says Dooham proposed addition to dinghy house floor plans.
Yes,
Do you have that?
I do.
I do.
Okay. If you go to page 2, okay, what it amounts to is that what they would like to do is put an addition that's approximately 6 feet by 14, 15 feet south. And what that does is it comes into the yard facing the mill house. Nobody can see it but the mill house. Mr. Middendorf, who is the surrounds the property on the west and the north, can't see it. And the likelihood, the people across the street, unless they're looking, they can't see it. The trouble is, what this requires is that the house is so close to the side yard that by increasing it that 5 feet out by 14 feet, we're still in the side yard setback. So that's why we need the variance to do this. Okay, now it's basically the same thing on the west end of the house facing the Sakonnet River. They want to put an addition on that's something approximately 8 feet by 17 feet, which would be make the living room bigger, more enjoyable, allow them to get a much better view of the Middendorf fields. And that property is all under some conservation easement. The development rights have been conveyed. So there's never going to be any house there. So it's not going to, by making it bigger, it doesn't adversely affect anybody at all. But the trouble is that by even going west, it's still in the side yard. So there's nothing we can do to get out of the side yard restriction there. So that's what we're trying to do, is to get two small additions. And if you look at the plans prepared by Mr. Pimentel, you'll see, I think he's outlined it, and he's got little clamshells that go around it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. On the west end, on the upstairs, there's a porch, because that's where the bedrooms are, and there'll be like a deck off the upstairs bedroom. The bottom line is that nobody is going to be harmed by this. It's not going to interfere with anybody's view. It's not going to be add disadvantage to anybody. The only one who really is concerned would be Mr. Middendorf, because he bought us the property on the west and the north, and he has no objection to this at all. Mrs. Charlotte Dunham and his daughter Frances go back a long way, and this is part of the plan to resurrect this whole piece of property. Bill has done some of the work for them, and if you have any questions, that I haven't touched on, please feel free to ask.
So the looking to the north, you go across the field, so that they are, I have to look at the numbers, but they're several thousand feet from the Mittendorf property.
Yes, yeah.
So as your point to the north, the impact is, and then there's a little bit of the property from the western border into the field. It's
Okay.
From the Pimentel plan, it looks like the addition is 6 feet on the west side.
It's 6, yeah. It's about 8. I think it's about. Let me look and see. Well,
My plan says 6 feet.
okay, it's about. I'm sorry, you're right. Okay, it's about 6 exactly. It's about 6 feet. 6 feet from the edge of the building to the west right now.
And that's
6 by 18, let's call it, Mike.
and what is the existing setback?
The existing 25 feet,
Well-
but
well-
now it's what, 2
Well,
inches.
So on this is Bill Smith, on the northern end of the digging, it's approximately 3/10 of a foot off the property line. That bump out, which Ray said has recently been removed, that actually went over onto the Middendorf property. And then down in the area where we're looking to put that westerly addition, the current structure is 1.6 feet. We're stepping it back just under a foot. So it's going to be approximately 2.4, 2.5 feet off the property line. So it won't be any closer than any of the other portions of the building that exist now.
On the north side?
That's correct.
Yeah, on the west side, what's the
37. It's
Pardon?
37, and the zoning setback is 25.
and what's it currently?
It would be 43. Roughly.
So you have more than enough room to make the 25 if it's 43.
Well, that's correct. We meet the rear yard setback, which is 25 feet there.
Okay,
And
so
we'll have 37. So it's really that side yard setback along the northerly line that we have the issue with.
which, as you're saying, is less than the existing setback on the north.
Which is, it would be greater than the existing. So the proposed westerly addition would be greater than the current setback on that northerly line. Right now, the building is 1.6 in that corner. We're going to be 2.4. Not much more, but it'll be set back slightly more than the current structure is at that corner.
So you'll have a better condition when you're done than exists now.
Oh, much better. I mean, if you saw this, it's going to be much better. I mean, it's going to be a beautiful spot.
Yeah.
I mean, when they get through. They've
Well,
done-
I'm talking about the dimensions, and not about, the look of it, but the dimensions. Right now, you're, 1'8" or close to 1 foot right now, and you're gonna end up with over 2 feet.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
in all actuality, Sal, you're actually better off because at one point, the bump out that was removed
Yeah.
actually crossed over the property line.
Yeah, so they removed
So-
that,
so
so
you're-
the net result is gonna be they're like 3 feet, 4 feet better off than it was before.
The net result is positive.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a
That's
problem
good.
with that.
No, I think it's good.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for.
I actually visited the property because I was concerned about the over the lot line. And I went out and actually saw the removal of that bump out. But I was very pleasantly pleased by some of the other things I saw upon my visit, which if I make a motion, I'll add to it when we come to it. But there's a new septic system. I did see that the existing cesspools had been filled in, which not only was a good idea, but it was a good safety measure too, because sometimes they leave them there but don't use them, and these were filled in. So I
Just to
was-
see somebody take on a development like that to rehab and bring that building back is really pleasing to me. To see some laugh at that old lady, I call it, sitting there waiting for somebody to come and take care of her.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see.
I make a motion that we send a letter to the zoning board saying that we find that this is an improvement to what was there and meets several of the goals in the comprehensive plan. The first one being NR1.A, which is groundwater recharge, which is what I refer to as the septics being filled. NR1-b, which is working with partners for good land use, which we had talked about earlier, working with the Mittendorfs and so forth. Then H1.A, which is meeting local housing needs. Then H1.B, which is increasing year-round living and housing. And the last one is LU1.A, which is ensuring the land use regulations noted in the comprehensive plan.
I'll second that.
Excellent. Ready for
Okay.
a roll?
Yep, roll call. Mike Steers,
Aye.
Bob Murphy,
Aye.
Mary Satel,
Aye.
Richard Ross,
Aye.
Bob Green,
Aye.
Mark Cady,
Aye.
Sal Marinosi,
Aye.
and Helen Woodhouse.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck
Thank
with it.
you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
That's that.
So our, moving right along, our next item is the David and Ahern and Mike Massa subdivision, which we approved in October, I believe. The administrative subdivision, which then set them off on a course to go to zoning, because as a product of that, they reduced the frontage. And so I'll let Don carry on from there.
All right, thank you, Mike. Good evening, board members. So as Mike was saying, you probably recall, we presented an administrative subdivision to the board, which I believe the board approved. This administrative subdivision sets the stage for a second step for Dave Ahern and Mike Massa, the two neighbors. so that they can each do their own one-time only subdivision. Each, Mr. Mass's lot and Mr. Ahern's lot are both approximately 6 acres in size, each with a single family dwelling on it. So they got together and figured out a way to each do a one-time only subdivision, which by using a common driveway easement to do that, they're minimizing land disturbance. They're minimizing, I guess they're promoting the scenic vistas. They're minimizing, or they're maximizing setback to wetland areas. All in all, a good, in my opinion, a good layout overall. They could each have chosen to do their own individual one without collaborating and each have their own driveway. Of course, now we'd have double the land disturbance. In the case of Mike Mass's lot, he'd have some serious challenges with wetlands and aesthetics in terms of the location of his existing house and where his driveway would need to come in by the house. So I think they've done a really good thing by getting together and coming up with something that not only benefits them, but really respects the neighborhood and the comp plan and the environment. So we'll go into the zoning board. So in order for the administrative subdivision to be affected, the zoning board has to grant 2 variances. One is both variances are for Dave Ahern's lot, the lot on the north. One is for frontage for his lot. His existing frontage is 65 feet. His proposed frontage is going to be 29.5 feet. His existing lot width is 75 feet. His proposed lot width is going to be 47 feet. And the reason for the impacts on Dave's lot is because of the location of Mike's house. The common driveway has to go on the north side of Mike's house to make the layout really work and make sense. So that's what we're asking the zoning board for, is a lot frontage variance and a lot width variance.
So Don, to that last point there, Mike's setback to the north is going to increase to 45 feet.
That's correct from existing.
And what is it now? It's pretty close right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 13.7 feet. So Mike can't get a road in on the north side of his house because his setback doesn't really even conform to the existing zoning at 13.7 feet.
No, yeah, but so my point being that the increase of Mike's setback to the north is a big plus. The downs, I mean, he has 39 feet, but the use for that space is for a combined right of way coming in from Long Highway. So there's no downside to having the lot narrower at that point.
That's correct. And I guess another way to say it is we're getting rid of a nonconformity by adjusting the lot line, in that we're increasing Mike's setback from 13.7 feet to 45 feet.
That's good.
Make a motion, we send a letter to the zoning board saying that we find this is a minimal impact to the comprehensive plan, but we also find that it meets the goals of the comprehensive plan in NR1-A, which is groundwater recharge, for the fact that it feeds a wetlands that is owned by the LCACT. I find that NR1-C, which promotes the goals of land use to restore a field that's bifurcated into open space, I find that it meets the goals of NR2.E, which is better water flow, as I said before, which feeds a pond that is on LCACT land, and H1.A, which is housing needs.
Great.
I'll second it.
I let you have that one.
I know you did. I know you did. I was waiting for that little Cheshire cat smile of yours.
Okay, so I'll do a roll call.
Yes, please.
Okay, Mike Steers,
Aye.
Bob Murphy,
Aye.
Mary Satel,
Aye.
Richard Ross,
Aye.
Bob Green,
Aye.
Helen Woodhouse,
Aye.
Sal Marinosi,
I
Mark Katie.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
good night.
Good
Good
night.
night, Don.
Merry Christmas.
Same to you.
So our next item is back to Mr. Holland there for a
Boy,
petition for Ted Stein and Susan McDonald with regard to property off of Old Harbor Road.
Good evening again. Bill Smith is here with me because he's done most of all of the work on this piece of property. Originally, this was a much bigger lot, about 13 acres, and the planning board subdivided it on a one-time only subdivision. God, back in 2012. Part of the property is in Westport, and the part in Westport has a house on it, which is owned by Gayla Gibbons and Forrest Stropshine. And they live there now, and they were part of the original owners. The property was subdivided, and at that time, let's get my maps here. Gayla and Forrest ended up getting the Westport property, and if you look at the little Compton tax maps, they also got lot 13-1A99, which has a conservation easement all over it, which nothing can be built on there. So if you look also at the tax map, you'll see the lot to the south, lot 14, the development rights to that lot have been conveyed so that nothing can be built there. And the lot to the north is a conservation easement, nothing can be built there. The lot we're here to talk about is lot 13-2. It's, as you can see, it's very, very irregularly shaped. And what's come up is that Bill had prepared a plan to build a house there. Well, during the course of the goings on, it became obvious to the building inspector and to Bill that the 175 rule that is in effect, where you have to have an area 175 by 175, and the building inspector has taken the position that that's where you have to put your house. The issue here is that the area where it can be 175 is down a rather steep slope into land that is fairly wet, that is not anywhere near as attractive for building a house. Down below to the west, where you have that 175 by 175, Bill's met with the building inspector, so have I. He has sent a letter to the board, and I don't know, Michael, do you have that?
I do have it, and I forwarded it to everyone. I don't know if they've all had an opportunity to read it, but.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I don't know if anybody has, but basically what we're asking for is that a variance of basically approximately 15 feet. Where they want to put the house comes up to be about 160 feet in that neighborhood. To put the house in a 160-foot area by 175 is a much better place for drainage on the house because it's on top of the hill. The septic can run downhill, the drainage runs downhill. It's just a much better place, and Bill can speak on that in a minute. When we met with the building inspector, he said that and I'm reading from his letter, the subject property is very irregularly shaped, buildable lot. After consulting with the project engineer of record and discussing the topography and proximity to the surrounding properties, the proposed layout of the main dwelling pool house with pool and tennis court seemed to make the most logical sense. It's on top of that, there's also a letter we got from the people in front, Gayla Gibbons and Forrest Schrottmeyer, and they have strongly supported Mr. Stein and Ms. McDonald in that they would much prefer to see them build a house up in this area where we're searching for the variance, because it's just a better location. And again, they wrote a letter to the planning board and to the zoning board. I think you have that also, won't you, Michael?
Yes.
Okay, in that it's not as noisy, it's not any commotion that would be associated with a pool or grandchildren up in that neighborhood. They'd rather have it farther down the hill and away than close to their house, so that they also support our variance request. What's unique about this, okay, is that I did this original subdivision, and if you read, there's an explanation that I have, or there is there with the zoning board petition. And if you look at the site plan, or rather the 2-lot, one-time only subdivision, the area, where it gets, it's odd. The two developers, Gayla Gibbons and Schrottmeyer, and a guy named Bob Wax, they were all friendly. They wanted to give that lot 13-1 to the Preservation Society. So we carved out a 94,800 square foot lot, and it went to the Preservation Society. Part of the Preservation Society's baseline documentation, and in my explanation to the zoning board, states that their pitch for us to do this was, whereas the importance of stone walls are great, and they should be preserved, it was agreed that we would make the boundary line in this area that we're trying to put the house with the 175 area with the stone walls. And we said, fine. It was not at that time understood by Mr. Wax and the developer that if you had the 175 by 175, that you had to build there. The thought was that if you had it, as long as you met the side yard and the front yard and the rear yard setbacks, you could build there. Well, that was an erroneous assumption that came back to bite everyone. If they had known this, they could have very easily have moved the boundary line another 15 feet to the south and still given the lot to the Preservation Society and reserved that area that they gave. So the same result would have been achieved, but it wouldn't have adversely affected their right to build a house. But nobody realized that at the time when they decided to do this. So what we're asking for is to just, there are no variants as far as the side yard, as far as density, anything along that line. It's just that they want to build in the area where it's not 175 by 175, but 175 by, I think it's 160. The building inspector has chimed in and he said, considering the irregularity of the land and how it slopes downhill to the west, that this is by far the best site. So that's what we're trying to do with the zoning board, is to get a variance to allow us to do that.
I don't see any. The side, most of the side lot lines are by dedicated land that can't be built on, correct?
That's correct. That's it. If it's right on your map for the
and
tax maps.
So and no one has a problem with it around that area. In fact, whoever would have a problem wrote a letter on behalf of this variance.
That's Sal. Bill and I were out there. We walked around, and the only house you can really see is the one who wrote the letter in favor of this. You can
Yep.
see the house much farther to the north, but it's got to be 600-800 feet. I mean, you can't see it unless you're looking for it. You can't see anything to the south, and there's one maybe another 800 feet to the farther north. So nobody. This isn't going to bother anybody. The only one it would bother is the one who's asking to grant the variance to put the house there, so that if they did have entertaining in the way of a tennis court, a swimming pool, they don't want that. You know, you hear the tennis ball going thump, thump, thump. You got a swimming pool, you got grandchildren, they make noise. The farther you can move that away from the other people's house, the happier they're going to be. So it's a win-win for the both people.
I don't have a problem with it.
Are you ready, Mark?
I'm not in favor of it.
No? And why is that?
Well, because when we did this subdivision, we were very specific that the 175 would be moved to the larger part of the lot. And I have mixed emotions. Now we have the building official saying it's a reasonable request, and we have a neighbor saying it's a reasonable request. But as far as I'm concerned, when we did that subdivision, we were very clear that the 175 by 175 would be to the back side of that lot.
I don't remember that.
Was that not minutes, Mark?
No, Mark, I would disagree, because if that ever came up and that was the issue, then we would not have given the Secana Preservation Society the lot 13 one that we did. We would have cut that down so that we could do what we're asking to do now. I mean, we didn't get paid for giving this lot 13-1 to the Preservation Society. It was something that we wanted to do. If we had taken 15 feet off that lot, they would have been happy, and we wouldn't have shot ourselves in the foot. And I say I didn't do this. I mean, but it would never done with the thought that we were limiting ourselves, that we had to build down there. That's just, I talked to Bob Waxon when going over this, and I would disagree with you strenuously on that.
I remember it specifically, and we did say that it would have to be moved to the far end, further end of the lot to make the 175 by 175.
Did anybody
I realize
know?
it's a different owner now than before, but
Yeah.
Is it in
Mark,
the?
did any? Oh, I'm sorry.
I
Mark, did anybody know the topography of the lot at the time when the subdivision was made?
I'm sorry, Sal, you cut out. I missed part of what you said.
I'm talking about the topography. In other words, they're talking about where this house should be built because of a drop off on the lot. Was anybody aware of that drop off when the subdivision was made, when you were talking about the subdivision initially?
I wasn't, because I didn't see a topographical map, but I'm sure
Yeah.
Bill was aware of it when he presented it before us.
Initially, the subdivision didn't include the SPA portion. But, I understand Mark's point about.
Yeah, so do I.
But I think that looking at where we are now, if we're from a conservation standpoint and a building standpoint, if the right place to put the structure, according to the building official and where the neighbors want it, is in a location that doesn't conform, I don't see where that really is it's a minor conflict with the comp plan, but it supports conservation and building in the right fashion, so the right location. And in light of the building official, I'm not opposed to it at all.
Has septic systems been considered yet?
So septic
Their
has.
test pits are all on the plan.
Yeah, the septic has been designed and approved by DEM.
Okay.
So Mark, was this in the minutes? you know, when we first did the subdivision? That we
I,
would do
I
one-
cannot, I can't say for sure because our minutes are really not as specific sometimes as they should be, but it was an issue that was discussed. So, you know, it's too bad because if your building official, who very seldom ever speaks up, brings forth a recommendation, it's hard to go against it. But on the other hand, you know, we made a stipulation when it was done. So, you know, I'm gonna stick with that stand, even though I have mixed emotions.
If I could point out that the structure as proposed, the house is proposed, meets all of the setback requirements. The issue really is its location within that 175 by 175 box that is in the geometric standards under zoning for frontage. Because it is an irregular shaped lot, the definition of the 175 by 175 talks about 175 from the frontage back 175 feet. This lot is only 40 feet wide. It's a 40-foot right of way in another state. So it really does have some unique characteristics that hopefully will help convince you that this is not such a bad thing.
No, but when we approved the lot, the subdivision, the 175 by 175 area was further to the west, where
Correct.
there's plenty of room. And so the real miss goes back to Ray's point of talking to SPA and not realizing by putting the property line where the wall is, because they wanted to preserve the wall, that it was going to have a consequence of reducing the frontage from 175 to 160.
By being the good guy, they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's just not right. I mean,
At the end of the day here, by building on this lot, it appears that they're not going to be changing anything on the lot. The lot's going to probably stay pretty natural as it exists. The walls are going to stay. The field is going to be a field for a tennis court or a swimming pool. So I don't know. I see it's an odd shaped lot, and these people are trying to manipulate it so they please the neighbors, and they make it also comfortable for themselves and leave the environment alone. I'd make a motion that we send a letter to the building and the zoning people that we're in agreement that the variance should be granted. Now, I don't know all the numbers that we need to add to that, but that would be my motion.
I'll second that.
I don't think we should tell the zoning board that they should approve this, though, in that letter. They were in favor of it. I don't think we should say that to the zoning board.
Well, they kind of stepped out of boundaries themselves, Bob. So why can't we just bounce it back to them?
It's not our job to tell them what they can and cannot approve. Our job is only to inform them what kind of impact it has on the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
That's right.
So any motion should refer to the comprehensive plan.
And the impacts to it.
Correct.
So is everybody in agreement that this does not impact the comprehensive plan, that it does impact what was originally set forth?
I would say minimum impact.
Minimum.
It does have an impact.
Yeah.
It does
Has
have
a
an
minimum,
Right.
minimum impact. And I think it's in light of conservation as far as keeping the land, the walls and everything intact the way they are, and keeping the land as natural as possible. And also I think we should say something about having something to do with the neighbors moving moving the house so it's in harmony with the neighborhood as well.
I'll make my motion that we send a letter to the zoning board saying that it has a minimal impact on the comprehensive plan, and that it is apparent that it's going to keep with the conservation of the area and in coordinates with the neighbors.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call. Mike Steers,
Aye.
Bob Murphy,
Aye.
Mary Satel,
Aye.
Helen Woodhouse,
Aye.
Richard Ross,
Aye.
Bob Green,
Aye.
Mark Cady,
Opposed?
Sal Marinosi,
Aye.
one opposition.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy holidays to everyone.
Same.
We're not finished yet.
No, we have one more item of business.
One more.
And this
Does
is,
Ray have this one now?
no, Ray doesn't have this.
File.
What? He missed one?
I'm gonna put him on retainer, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting too old for this now.
So
Does this mean we have to afford him a seat on the board now?
No,
Don't get carried
honorary
away.
seat?
Mark.
no.
I have to
We
Don't
need
get
him on the
carried
other
away.
side.
Thank you.
So this is a unique request that I'm not sure we have dealt with this in the past for affordable housing. When the Arkins were going to build the 2 units from Jack Farias family property. And so the town council has forwarded to us a request from 50 Commons LLC, which I think Sid's on.
Yes, he's there.
He's here.
Yeah.
Which is his company to extend his lot, and I'll refer to it as Wilbur's. It's the business district, pretty much, I think, is 200 feet wherever it goes off of the road that it fronts on. So in the commons there goes back 200 feet, which means that going easterly, the balance of his lot is in a residential zone. The first portion is in the business zone. So he's presented to the council, who's referred it to us for consideration to make all of his lot in the business zone, or extend the business zone so it incorporates all of his lot, which is 8-1.
So the business zone would go to his property line.
Correct.
His 8-1. I'll let Sid's there so he can represent how he wants this to present.
Thank you, members. And, I wasn't thinking clearly, because I certainly should have had Mr. Holland be the one to represent us in this. But no, it's a simple request. And in light of where the line does now come across the property, it leaves a portion of the property that is residential. So our main reason for asking for this, as you all know, the parking in the commons area is very limited. A good portion of our back parking lot behind Wilbur's and the commons lunch is used by other businesses in the area, which we have no problem with, because our main intention is to actually take, which I would suggest as a improvement, is moving our family business, which my son now owns and runs, from 64 South of Commons, which is Secana Plumbing, and move it out of a residential zone and move that business up behind Wilbur's. So in doing that, we'll need to construct a building. And if we're restricted on that line, or as I understand it, 30 feet beyond the line, possibly, it puts the building out more in the center of the parking lot, which is going to restrict parking area that we have, which is available both for our businesses that are there and the post office, but also the parking areas that are used by other businesses in the area.
So I'll open it up for comments. I'm not sure that the council referred this to us. They didn't ask us specifically, Carol. Maybe what do you believe they were expecting from us back to them?
Oh, well, according to the zoning ordinance, section 9.11B, it's to be referred to the planning board to give findings and recommendations to the appointment, including a statement on the general consistency with the proposal of the comprehensive plan, and then include a demonstration of recognition and consideration of each of the applicable purposes of zoning. So you're really supposed to recommend, much like you do for those zoning special permits you just dealt with, whether or not it is applicable or is in light of the comprehensive plan, whether it meets the comprehensive plan.
Well, I would venture to say that it meets the comprehensive plan. It certainly supports small business and little Compton business and keeps it within the business zone and expands to accommodate existing businesses. And the relocation of Sakana Plumbing from residential to the business zone is certainly appropriate.
So if that ends up being your recommendation, it'll go back to the council, at which time the council will draft an advertisement and actually hold a public hearing to propose this very amendment.
Okay.
I'm prepared to make a motion, Mike.
Okay.
I just have one question. If we're going to do this, which I think is very positive to do it, why wouldn't we do the post office at the same time for 8-2?
Because we have to do what is applied to us to do. We can't
Okay.
do something that
So you
on
can
somebody
say-
else's land without their permission.
Mark, before you make a proposal, I have one question of Sid. Do you want this, do you want to include the moving of the plumbing business over to this, or do you want to keep it clean from that? Because I don't know what your agenda is for doing that.
No, Sal, I would ask that we just deal with the issue of moving the line, the district to the property line. And when appropriate for whatever else we do there, we could certainly bring that to the appropriate, bring it forward.
So we keep this clean. In other words, keep the plumbing thing out of it.
Correct. Yes, please.
Okay.
I make a motion that we send a letter to the town council stating that as per Town Code 14-1.1, the proposal by Sidney Wardell to amend the bifurcation of Lot 30, of Plat 30, Lot 8-1, to move the business line east to the lot line itself to become the property line. This is clear and reasonable. The facts for this are such. H.3, which is residential impact, which would be to move the plumbing business out of the residence into the business district. Okay, LU1-d, which is assessment of future development, which would allow then that area to be developed for future business. LU1-e, zoning regulations. It would then meet zoning regulations. ED.1, local job opportunities. ED.1, small c, support local services. ED.2, which is economic enterprise.
I'll second it. I almost beat you, Sal. I'll second.
Almost doesn't count.
Can I just
Oh, yeah,
just-
go ahead.
on that, so understanding, Mark, what you just said to move the boundary to the east line, and recognizing you don't want to change the neighbors without, being asked. I think I'm putting this on the table, that what you're then ultimately, I would need you to do is also change the boundary on the north, I guess, to come down to meet the east. And then on the south boundary to go back to where it originally was. So I just, I did let the property owners know, both to the north and the south, that we were doing this. And I thought it would be advantageous for them to say, hey, how do I put my name in and add that to the list? And maybe the council will have that discussion. But just to not, as Ray Holland said earlier, shoot ourselves in the foot, just make sure that what you're describing is accurate, that it also moves on the north and south boundary, not just the east.
That's why
I
I
think
said,
where the
that's
intention
why I
is to
used
make-
the wording that we were going to move it to the east along the property line, which means it would follow the property line to the east, both north and south.
I think the other way to do it is just to say we're gonna make all of 8-1 put all of 8-1 in the business zone.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I like
that's the
that better.
designated lot.
Boy, did I hear you just correct Mark?
No, he gave me a suggestion,
Oh,
Sal.
all right. I just,
So, Edie, I would add, after it makes good sense to add that the entire of Plat 30, Lot 8-1 would become business.
That's clearer.
Go ahead,
and I
Sal.
second it.
And
Somebody
Sal,
second my amendment?
yeah.
Go ahead, Sal.
I did.
Okay, so the amended version has been made and seconded. So roll call, Bob Green,
Aye.
Patel,
Aye.
Richard Ross,
Aye.
Helen Woodhouse,
Aye.
Sal Marinosi,
Aye.
Mark Cady,
Aye.
Mike Steers,
Aye.
Bob Murphy,
Aye.
unanimous.
Good luck with
Merry
it. sir.
Christmas, Sid.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good, Merry Christmas to you all as well. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
I make a motion that we file the correspondence that we don't have in the appropriate area.
Second it.
That's fine, but you missed
Oh,
the planning board business bullets.
Oh,
Oh, I make a motion, we table those until a further meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call then. Bob Green,
Aye.
Mary Satel,
Aye.
Helen Woodhouse,
Aye.
Richard Ross,
Aye.
Sal,
aye.
Mark Cady,
Aye.
Mike Steers,
Aye.
Bob Murphy.
Aye.
Okay, well,
Go ahead, Sal, this is your motion.
This is yours,
Make a
Sal.
motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I'll second that, Sal.
Thank you, Carol.
Oh,
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Carol.
Thanks